Hello and welcome back to Pure Stoic Truth. Thank you so much for being here. Your presence means more than you know. If you're new, consider subscribing to the channel, because here we don't just talk about connection, we live it. We explore the unspoken layers of presence, vulnerability, and emotional truth in the moments that most people overlook. In our last video, we explored the powerful idea that a hug could unlock her heart. That simple, silent act of closeness could be the very key to something much deeper than words. Today, we take the next step, because sometimes it isn't just the hug that speaks. It's what you say while holding her that changes everything. So, let me ask you, what if one sentence, spoken in a whisper while holding her, could shift the emotional gravity between you? What if your voice in that moment said more than hours of conversation ever could? And what if what you said or didn't say was exactly what she had waited years to hear but never dared to ask? It's easy to mistake a hug for something simple. Most people do. They think it's just touch, just proximity, just muscle and skin. But when you look closer, when you begin to see what emotion actually feels like in the body, you realize that a hug is rarely about arms. It's about what happens underneath them. She leans in. You hold her. There's warmth, closeness, a shared breath. But what's actually being exchanged isn't physical. It's psychological. You're not just wrapping yourself around her body, you're standing in front of every fear she's carried in silence. A hug is the one moment where everything guarded can slip. It's quiet enough that her defenses pause. She's not performing, not protecting, not trying to be understood, just present. And what you do in that moment, how you show up, what you signal, what your presence communicates, decides more than you think. Most men never realize what a woman is scanning for in those few seconds. Not words, not plans, not gestures. She's listening to how calm you are when nothing is said. She's tuned in to whether you are actually there or just passing through on your way to the next thing you want. She doesn't care about the technique of the hug. She's watching how you carry her nervous system with yours. If you even notice it's there, you can't speak to that kind of depth unless you've been in it yourself. And that's the reason most moments fall flat, because women don't open themselves to men who are only available on the surface. The body knows the difference between genuine safety and manufactured charm. She's felt that distinction more times than she can count. You're not going to reach her by being clever. You reach her by being honest. And not the kind of honesty that explains itself, but the kind that doesn't flinch when the moment gets real. When she steps into your space, she's testing something far more important than attraction. She's asking a question most people can't hear, because they've never slowed down long enough to feel it. That question lives in her breath, in her hesitation, in the way she waits half a second longer before pulling away. She's not asking if you want her. She's asking if you're the kind of man who knows how to carry weight without being crushed by it. And in that space, with her pressed against you, your opportunity begins, not to impress, but to witness, because what you say in that moment won't be judged by how smooth it sounds. It'll be judged by how deeply it resonates. That's why one sentence can shift the entire emotional reality between two people. If it's real, if it's spoken from a place that doesn't need to protect itself, you don't have to hold yourself up for me. Say that while holding her. Mean it. Say it slowly, like it didn't come from your mind, but from the place in you that knows what it feels like to be tired of standing alone. Because she does. And she may not say it. She may not even show it. But there are parts of her that have been holding their breath for years. Now let's move forward and explore why those few words spoken at the right time carry so much weight, and how you can speak them in a way that makes her feel truly seen. When you say something real in a moment that matters, and you mean it, not to impress but to connect, she feels it. And when you said, "You don't have to hold yourself up for me," something subtle shifted inside her. It may not have been loud or obvious, but it was real. That shift only happens if your words are rooted in something you've earned within yourself. Because that sentence, as gentle as it sounds, only works if it rises from a place of emotional integrity. It only resonates if you've faced your own storms, if you've made peace with the chaos within, and you're no longer demanding that every connection prove your worth. It comes from no longer mistaking emotional intensity for true intimacy. And let's be honest, most men haven't reached that point. Too many walk through life with stories of strength that are stitched together by avoidance. Avoidance of discomfort, of truth, of silence. Real strength doesn't come from dominance. It comes from stability. Emotional presence isn't something you can perform. It's something you embody. It's either in your nervous system or it's not. And when it's not, she feels it. Maybe not consciously, but her body does. She might still smile, still be kind, still seem open, but her heart won't lean in. Because true surrender doesn't come from being told that everything's fine. It comes from knowing that even when it's not, you'll still be there. Not trying to fix her, not trying to escape, just being there. And here's the truth, you can't ask for that kind of trust. You live in a way that earns it. That means becoming the kind of man who doesn't see emotion as a threat to be managed, but as something to sit with. A man who doesn't vanish when discomfort appears, who doesn't shut down when vulnerability shows up without a warning. She's felt that hollowness before. The kind where someone holds her but doesn't really see her. Where physical closeness disguises emotional absence. That's why this moment matters so much. When you say, "You don't have to hold yourself up for me," you're not just offering comfort, you're offering permission. You're saying, "I'm not here to fix you, I'm here to witness you." You're not trying to feel useful. You're showing her that her truth, whatever it looks like, is safe in your presence. That kind of honesty, that kind of steadiness, it's rare, and it lingers. She might not respond the way you expect. She could laugh it off. She could look away. She might even change the subject. But somewhere in her, something shifts. Something rewrites itself. Because for once, someone didn't flinch when they saw the unguarded part of her. And that creates a memory, not just in her mind, but in her nervous system. That's what emotional safety does. It leaves a mark. It stays, even years later, when she's trying to understand why she still remembers that one moment. That's the power of presence. Not perfection, not performance, just realness. Grounded, steady, honest. And here's the hard truth. Most men can't give that kind of presence because they haven't yet offered it to themselves. They've been trained to chase, to lead, to achieve, but not to sit with emotional tension and hold it without flinching. Without that capacity, relationships become something they try to manage, to control. And in doing so, they lose the depth, because touch without understanding becomes mechanical. Words, no matter how beautiful, turn into noise if the energy behind them isn't grounded. That's why your hug, the way you hold her, the way you speak into that moment, matters more than you think. And why what you say in that moment can echo longer than any promise, any compliment, any text you'll ever send. but only if it's real, only if it comes from the part of you that has stopped performing, the part that finally knows how to simply be. In the next part, we'll explore how that one simple sentence, said in presence, can begin to rewrite what safety feels like in her body and yours. It's not just the sentence you say, it's the energy beneath it, the tone that rides beneath your words, steady and sure. Sometimes she won't know how to respond, and that's okay, because it's never been about her reaction. It's always been about what you're offering. You're offering space, a place where she can land without pressure. Even if only for a few seconds, she needs to know that your arms and your presence don't come with expectations or demands. You're not there to fix her. You're not there to heal her. You're there to stand still, grounded, while she finds her footing. And that's how trust begins. Not with grand gestures or perfect timing, with stillness. In that stillness, something powerful happens. You stop being just another man passing through. You become a place, a moment, a memory of safety. And in a world that teaches women to brace themselves, that kind of memory means everything. There's a moment that most people miss. It comes right after the hug ends. It's subtle, almost invisible, but it determines everything that follows. She steps back. Her eyes may glance downward. A faint smile may linger. But she doesn't fully leave. Emotionally, she stays. She's still listening. Not with her ears, but with her whole body. She's watching who you become now that the closeness has passed. And this is the moment most men don't understand. Because connection doesn't seal itself in the touch. It anchors in what happens after. When the nervous system isn't flooded. When the heart rate slows, when the stillness returns and the world resumes its pace, what you do in that space is what lingers. Anyone can be present in a charged moment, but true safety is proven in the quiet. It's easy to feel close when your arms are wrapped around someone. It's harder to feel close when the silence sets in, when your eyes meet, and there's no script to follow. And this is where many men quietly lose the connection they never knew they were building, because they step out of presence too early. They retreat, they fidget, they joke, not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to stay when things slow down. That silence, it feels dangerous to a nervous system not used to intimacy. So they fill it with humor, with sarcasm, with distraction. But to her, that withdrawal confirms something she's feared, that the connection was never safe to begin with, that the tenderness was temporary. And so she tucks that part of herself away again, labels it too much, decides it's not worth revealing next time. This is why presence is not a one-time act. It's a capacity. It's not just who you are in the hug. It's who you remain after it. It's the energy you carry into the next hour, the next day, the next pause in the conversation. Can she still feel your steadiness when nothing emotional is happening? Can she still feel your care when she's not trying to earn it? Can she feel you? Truly feel you in the ordinary. True connection isn't built in passion. It's tested in stillness, in the mundane, in the moments where nothing grand is happening, where no rewards are offered. That's where your presence is either felt or forgotten. She doesn't need you to fix anything, or entertain her, or prove your worth. She needs to know that your presence is consistent, that it doesn't disappear when the moment fades. And for that to be true, it has to come from a place of inner clarity. You can't anchor her nervous system if yours is drifting. Up next, let's explore how being emotionally rooted, not just emotionally reactive, can change the way you hold space for her and for yourself. And this brings us to the quiet truth behind real presence. You can't offer her safety if you're still at war with yourself. Most people long for intimacy, but resist the transformation it demands. They want closeness without the discomfort of vulnerability. But emotional truth doesn't work that way. You don't get to feel deep connection without also being exposed. That's the part many avoid, yet it's also the only place where everything becomes real. If you want to become the kind of man whose presence can shift the entire atmosphere with just one sentence, then you must first become the man who's spoken honestly with himself in solitude, who's sat with his own silence, his own grief, his own shame, who's confronted the painful truth that he's let people down, including himself, that he's run when he should have stayed, that he's held on to control when surrender was needed, that he's mistaken performance for presence, even when his heart longed for more. Only once you've told the truth to yourself do you learn how to tell the truth in a moment of closeness. And that is when a sentence like, "You don't have to hold yourself up for me," becomes more than just a nice line. It becomes shelter, because she doesn't need a therapist or a savior or someone who reads her mind. She doesn't even need someone who's fully healed. What she needs is someone who remains emotionally available in a world obsessed with withdrawal. Someone who doesn't treat closeness like pressure. Someone who doesn't hide behind the illusion of independence. Someone who knows that being human is not a burden, and that vulnerability isn't a currency to be spent cautiously. And when you become that kind of presence, something changes, not just in her, but in you. You begin to feel what it's like to love without the burden of proving. You realize that intimacy isn't about managing someone else's emotions. It's about walking beside them through the weather, even when they don't have words for what they feel. You stop striving to impress and begin choosing to attune. And somewhere in that quiet growth, you'll come to understand something deeper. Everything in your past, every heartbreak, every disappointment, every moment of being unseen was shaping you for this. Not to become perfect for someone else, but to become deeply intimate with yourself, so that when someone finally leans into you, unsure, tired, you don't flinch, you don't panic, you just stay. There's a version of love that most people never experience, not because it's rare, but because it requires a level of presence most never develop. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it doesn't arrive as fire, it stays as warmth. The kind of warmth that lingers even when the emotion has passed, even when the room grows quiet, even when nothing dramatic is unfolding. That's what makes a woman feel held. Not the moment of touch, but the depth of who is doing the holding. And when you can offer that kind of presence consistently, she doesn't just rest in your arms. She begins to rest in herself. Because now you've become the mirror that doesn't distort her reflection. You're not exaggerating her worth to manipulate her. In the final part, we'll explore how one single sentence, spoken with true, emotional presence, can do more than stir her heart. It can awaken something that's been quietly waiting to be seen. Following the warmth that lingers even after the embrace fades, we arrive at the quiet truth behind what makes a woman feel truly held. It's not just your touch, it's your presence. And most importantly, it's the kind of presence you offer. You don't minimize her emotions to make yourself feel more comfortable. You don't try to fix her, save her, or reshape her into someone more convenient to love. You simply see her, and you stay human beside her. That is what becomes her safety. Suddenly, she realizes she doesn't need to explain her anxiety for you to understand it. She doesn't have to hide her disappointment just to keep your attention. She no longer feels the pressure to perform, femininity, to be worthy of being cherished. She just gets to be, and for the first time in a very long time, she begins to believe that who she is, beneath the smiles, beneath the masks, is enough. Not because you said the perfect words, but because the words you spoke came from a man who lives his truth. The hug simply opens the window, but the sentence you whisper, if it's real, that's what lets the air in. What determines whether she opens further, whether she stays or retreats, is not your charm. It's your consistency. It's your depth. It's how grounded your presence remains when the attention shifts off of you. Most men are still asking, how do I keep her interested? They believe the answer lies in timing, strategy, performance. But the real answer is far simpler. Become the kind of man who stays present, especially when the moment no longer revolves around him. Become the man who finds peace in being, not just in doing. The kind of man who can say one honest thing in the silence and have it felt deeper than all the cleverness that came before. When you say, "You don't have to hold yourself up for me," and you mean it from a place that expects nothing, in return, you're not just offering comfort. You're giving her freedom. You're telling her you don't have to pretend here. You don't need to carry strength like armor. You don't have to measure how much of yourself is acceptable. You can finally let it go. And I will still be here. That's not romance. That's emotional responsibility. And the men who offer that kind of presence, they don't just change relationships. They change lives, sometimes without even meaning to. So next time you hold her, really hold her. Don't think about where it might lead. Don't focus on saying the right thing. Don't rush to break the silence. Just be there. Notice the tension in her shoulders. Feel her breath slow down against your chest. And when you speak, let it come from the version of you that no longer waits for permission to feel deeply. She'll feel it. She might not say anything. She might not even move. But inside, something will soften, something will exhale, not because you fixed her, but because finally she feels safe enough to stop fixing herself. And in that stillness, everything begins. If these words stirred something real inside you, don't just leave. Stay with us. This channel exists for those who feel more than they show, who carry the weight of connection in silence, and who understand that healing begins when performance ends. Subscribe if you're ready to go deeper, not just in love, but in presence. And in our next video, we'll explore something deceptively simple, but unforgettable. Touch her here, and she'll never forget you. Secrets of female psychology. You don't want to miss what comes next.